How you guys doing?
Great. How are you?
Oh my God. Oh no. You know, they call me Breakdown Amir. So if you like respond that way, we just start off with breakdowns on Sundays. So how you doing? All right, that's better. So let me tell you why I'm here. It's very simple. I'm here because I love this man. I love Sensei at Fireforce, and I love Team Karate Centers. The door right over there, the testing used to happen here, and it was in a black belt test. I was 22 years old, and I snuck my head through that door, and I experienced something that I hadn't really experienced in my life. There was a handful of people out here testing, and there was something happening on this side. There was a sense of strong self and energy. There was something about these men that I wanted. I wanted what they had, and I didn't know what it was. And it really wasn't what the students were doing, but it was everything that these black belts exemplified on this panel that drew me to come in past that door. And I sheepishly looked around, and I sheepishly signed up. I was probably one of the most egotistical students that walked through Master Fireforce's doors. I thought I knew everything before I even stepped onto the mat. And things were a little bit different then. We used to have full contact sparring nights. It was Wednesday nights, I believe, and if you wanted to, you were welcome to come bang with anybody. So, of course, I was like, yes, I'm 22 years old, I feel phenomenal, and so I did. And I remember sparring with Master Fireforce, and I said, this is it. I get to knock him out and be like, that's a great student. And the way that night ended was me in the hospital. This right foot, this right toe, you're welcome to come look at it. It's one of the most hideous things you'll ever see. There's a huge knot on top of it. The toe itself is completely fused. There's scars going on the left and the right side. There's a titanium piece that's in there. And that all happened on that beautiful night, thanks to my ego. And my ego has rubbed up against the way so many times that at 44 years old, I'm teachable in life. And that was just, it took me 10 years to get my black belt. I actually returned my gi more than once. I came to Fire Mars, I said, this has been great, thank you so much. And I folded it and I handed it to him. And he said, you know, why don't you just keep it? Just keep it, and we'll see what happens. And so I would always find my way back, and I was always welcomed. And I finally, after leaving and coming back so many times, something happened. I think I matured just enough to make the commitment to stay. And I started my path towards my first degree black belt. And I got to tell you, if you haven't trained with all your heart and with all your soul, there's nothing you can do from now till Sunday. I'm sorry to tell you that. That is just the reality, the repercussions of the choices that you made. If you put your heart and soul into your training up to now, you have an opportunity for something magical to happen. And it's only an opportunity. And if you didn't put your heart and soul into it, you can still shift your attention and have an experience that you may not be expecting. But for those of you who have put your heart and soul into this thing, and on Sunday, two things are going to happen. And this is my experience. The pressure is going to go up, and you're either going to lose your sense of presence, or you're going to shine. And the only difference is in the art of letting go. So accept the fact that you're going to make mistakes. Already done. So the panel, honestly, and I've sat on it for many years, and I also taught for Master Paribors for about 8 years, and I have 2 students in your group that's really special for me to see where they are. We actually, when we talk on the panel, we don't really talk about the mistakes. We really don't. We actually, we're like, oh my God, did that guy just come out of his shell and like express himself through that form? That's really inspiring. Like that really gets people's attention. If you know you're in a mistake, own it. There's nothing worse than just cowering in your mistake. If you went the wrong way on basic form number 4, guess what? Finish it that way. Like everyone, and if you do a really good job, you may have everyone else end up like being like, did we do it right? You know? So I encourage you to really own it. So I worked really hard to get to my to tonight. Actually, it was the Wednesday night. The test was on Sunday, and I had a 10-year process getting to where I was, and I was ready. I was ready for my black belt. I was listening to that Eminem song. You know, what is it? You guys know the one. Don't lose yourself. I got that blasting. I'm in the zone. I'm ready to go. We worked out Wednesday night, and I pulled my groin. I pulled my groin on Wednesday, and I went into like a panic attack, and I started getting down on myself. Poor me, and I'm like, why did I do this? I mean, my brain was really working on me, and my training had been enough where I knew that I was going to show up no matter what. So it doesn't matter if I have to fight one person or if I have to fight 5 people. That's not what's going to change as far as what I'm going to do or not. So if that thing is happening, I've been taught to show up. So if my family is in danger, it doesn't matter that it's 1 or 5. It's on, it's on. And so I showed up on that Sunday, and I'm telling you, I was in the room before, and I still had the groin pain. I stepped onto the mat, I bowed onto the mat, and I swear to God, with the first step, it was gone. It was gone. It was completely gone, and it never came back even after, which was very strange. So when I finished my exam, my first degree exam, and I walked to the foot of that candlelight, suddenly everything all the pain that I had experienced, all the trouble, all the obstacles, I saw them in a different light, and something happened where I kind of just dropped, and I had like a breakdown. I had like an emotional breakdown, and I didn't even like realize how long I was there. And the candles were lit, and I said, okay, get yourself together. You know, you got to walk down you got to go and get your belt. And I looked up, and my baby girl, who was at that time, she must have been 4 or 5, and Master Fireboards had sent her down to get me because I just literally didn't have it in me, and she took my hand and she guided me down this path. And to this day, my daughter's internal strength is by far like stronger than mine. Like in many ways, you know, she's taught me. Since I've studied martial arts, which is now over 22 years, I have never ever had to use martial arts. I've never had to physically apply it. I've had to hold my ground, and that's at times taken care of itself. but I've never had to, it's never come into use in that way. But then I asked myself, then why all the head kicks? Then why the broken toe? Then why, you know, the reason we bow and we take a moment when we bow, we don't just like walk in like that, is because some of us know what it feels like to bleed on the mat. Some of us know some of us have taken really bad shots on the mat, and we've kind of come back, and people have walked off, they've gathered themselves, and they've walked back on the mat, and they've finished with the class. So in my life at 45 this Sunday, at 45, I've never had to use martial arts in that way. But I gotta tell you that I've used it many times in my life. When my daughter got sick, she was 12 years old. She got really sick, and I was devastated because I felt like we were gonna lose her. She's doing great. She's 18 years old. She's gonna be going off to college. But my martial arts training came in there because I remembered the first time I grappled Sensei T. The first time I grappled him, I tapped, not because I was being choked or there was some, I tapped because out of panic. I tapped. I had to learn how to live under him. And when I eventually learned to feel comfortable in that uncomfortable space and not wail around so much and be still in that uncomfortability, that's when my training in martial arts kicked in. You see, I would have been no use to my daughter if I was flailing around. She really needed my presence. And in the first 3 months, I really was, like, my out of the gate thing was, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I gotta save her. But that energy didn't serve her. What she needed was a father that was stable, that was grounded, that was there for her, that didn't need to control the situation, that had the presence to be with her. See, my martial arts training came in there. I divorced my wife, who I met when I was 18. I'm 44. We divorced in December. It was one of the hardest things I had to go was to unravel this life. And it was just another time where I could have gone down that path of self-despair, but I remembered, I don't think I even remembered, my training kicked in, and I navigated the waters. I navigated the waters just right to be of maximum service to the people in my circle of influence. And I didn't learn that anywhere else. I learned that here at Team Karate Center. I don't know most of you, but I show up here because I love what this process does. What it does is it gives you the opportunity to meet a part of you that you've never met, that the senseis see in you already. But it's not good enough for us to see it, the potential. But we facilitate, I still feel like I'm here, and but the space is created and the process is set in motion for you to have an opportunity to meet a better version of yourself. You see, that's why we do this. The black belt, anybody can have the black belt, right? That's why I said I really hope that you put your blood, heart, and soul into what you've done thus far, because it's going to be that much more meaningful when you stand face to face with your sensei and you humbly walk forward and you receive that honor, a representation of everything that you've done to get to this point. So I wish you all presence, and I'm sure you guys have heard, where am I, what am I doing, is it real? Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I use it in my life all the time. I use it in my life all the time. Life gets busy, things start spinning. Where am I? What am I doing? Is it real? Check in with yourself and shine. This is the only opportunity that we get to see who you are. We're not really interested in if your kick is up here, great, it's kind of cool. But I really want to see that expression of that person, right? I want to see the art in the martial. So this is your chance to introduce us to who you are by allowing us to share with you in who you are. The forms, the katas, they're all structures designed so you can express yourself. I've never had to use martial arts. If I have to, it's there. But I get to express who I am freely, openly, and I get to share what's in my heart. And you have an opportunity to do that on Sunday. That's what moves people, right? So I'll say one last thing. There are a handful of you that are holding back. It's irrelevant for me to point out anything. There are a handful of you that are holding back. Okay? It is your responsibility to step up as leaders in your group. No one is served by you going small. Your team needs you, and you need to step up. And your energy will guide the rest of your team. The reason some of your teams go up there and they don't know what's going on is because the leader hasn't stepped up. So you know who you are in your group. It's time to step up. It's the 11th hour. Os? All right, so let's go ahead and stand up.
Sir.
Sir. Face me. Bow. And Sensei Norton's coming up. Is that
Richard?
Us. Jihan.
Richard?